Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us here on AM Prime. Joining us this morning via Zoom is a representative, a pan soloist, a player with bpRenegades, a Panorama Champions 2023, Mr. Emmanuel Joseph. Good morning, Mr. Joseph. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning to you and to the entirety of your viewership. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Congratulations. First off, congratulations to yourself and to the band on your Panorama win.
Thank you so much. I mean, this win is so important to us. It was a very hard-fought season. We know that the other bands came with their best, and so we just had to continue to prepare. And this is our 12th overall win in the National Large Band competition.
Now, you've been playing pan for about 9 years, you said. How long have you been playing all 9 years with Renegades?
No, so I started at the age of 9, and then in 2015 I joined bpRenegades Youth Steel Orchestra, the younger group, and in 2020 I transitioned to the Senior Steel Orchestra. So with Renegades, it's just been about 8 years or so.
Now, how was it playing this season? Tell us a little bit about the arrangement. Renegades would have played Black Stallions, the late Black Stallions, Feeling to Party, Black Man Feeling to Party this year. Tell us a little bit about the arrangement and how it was for you participating in Panorama 2023.
Definitely. So Mr. Duvon Stewart, the arranger for bpRenegades, he tried to capture the essence of party, of community, and just overall good vibes from Dr. Leroy Callice's song, Black Man Feeling to Party. So the arrangement, it was not too difficult. It wasn't one of those, 1,000 notes, walls that are runs and stuff, but he really tried to capture the essence of a party and that good energy that Trinidad and Tobago has during Carnival. So the Panorama arrangement itself, the practice sessions weren't too arduous. But we enjoyed it as a band. There was this slogan that Mr. Stewart was using during the entirety of the season: there is a process to success. So there were times that we would come the night for practice and we would drill the same part over and over, making sure that all the players were playing the correct notes, playing it the correct way, using proper technique. The captain, Miss Candace Andrews Brumont, was there every night, of course, with her vice captain and the rest of the board. The drill master, Mr. Andrew Charles, they were all in cohesion together, making sure that the band was sounding correct. And as a player, I enjoyed myself as a young and upcoming arranger, getting that chance to look and observe Mr. Duvon Stewart, who is a champion arranger, is a great opportunity for me as a personal player, and of course, as a member of bpRenegades. I'm just happy that we are now Panorama champions again. The last time we were Panorama champions was in 2019.
Tell us a little bit about, you said you came from the youth orchestra of bpRenegades, and particularly this carnival of note is the number of young persons, not just your age, but even younger. We saw some quite children, minors, in many of the bands, large and medium bands, throughout the Panorama competition. Tell us a little bit about the evolution of Pan, the new generation, coming out of the youth orchestra yourself.
Sure. Okay. So bpRenegades Youth Steel Orchestra has been in existence since 2000, the year 2000, and since then it's worked as a feeding tool for the senior steel orchestra. So when persons come in the youth steel orchestra and they learn the rudimentary basic skills of playing the Steelpan, they are able to transition to the Steelpan. And this process has not only been going on in bpRenegades, but in many of the larger organizations as well, where the youth bands feed the senior steel orchestras, and even outside of the big bands, from the small, medium, and all the single pan bands as well. There is a lot of young people. The youth in the steel band fraternity are very successful, and not even as players alone, but a lot of young arrangers are in the foray now in the steel band fraternity, from both the junior Panorama, which is primary, secondary, and under 21 bands, all the way up to the small, medium, and large bands. There are a lot of young arrangers under the age of 30 doing wonderful things. To name just a few, in the large band category, the band that placed third, Silver Stars, two young arrangers from Tobago, Mr. O.J. Richards and Mr. Kirsch Ramsey, is just one small example of how well the youth are doing in Steelpan right now.
And in your experience, how do the young ones get involved? I mean, yes, there are these youth programs within the big bands, as you say. However, is it just that, you know, a young person walks off the streets and they come into the panyards? Because you tend to hear a lot about, you know, my mother or my father played and I got involved. How does it happen otherwise? I think it's so important for young people. We saw it this year. It was so refreshing. It was really lovely. How do they get involved? Or how can they get involved?
How can they? Sure. I think community is important. When a steel band is established in a community, the young people in the community are naturally drawn towards the sound. I think schools are very important. You know that there's the Pan in Schools program there, the music diversity instruments, the diverse range of instruments within the music schools. I think peer pressure in a good way is important as well, because when young partners go back to school and tell their friends, boy, I was on the Panorama stage, there was lights, cameras, somebody come and take out a picture of me, are able to learn a new skill, and that just word of mouth spreading, I think that's very important. So positive peer pressure is important for the Steelpan youths, but I think community is one of the most important. When there's a Steelpan organization established inside a community where there's a sense of pride, a sense of community, that's very important as well. So that's one good way that youths are becoming intertwined with the Steelpan fraternity.
Well, the Schools Panorama Champions competition, saw a much bigger turnout this year compared to other years. So, you know, we hope to see more of that going forward. Now, Emmanuel, you also had a series this carnival on your social media platforms called EJ in the Rama. Tell us a little more about that.
An educational platform for the Steelpan fraternity by the Steelpan fraternity. Not to, you know, do a disservice to the other media houses, but I think coming from a Steelpanist, the way we elaborate and we define our terms and our norms within the Steelpan fraternity was very important. So I took it upon myself with my tripod and my camera, and I became a little innovative. I taped a mic onto a bass stick, and I was just going around interviewing people, doing some exposés on the Steelpan fraternity, on Panorama, on the process from tuning the pans to learning the song to what an arranger would do. I tried to cover my best. I tried my best to cover all the Panorama events, but unfortunately, of course, the Panorama season has gotten to me itself. So for Junior Panorama, I was unable to cover because I was arranging for a secondary school, and that took up my entire day. And of course, I had to play with the bpRenegades Youth Steel Orchestra. For Panorama semis, the big Savannah party, I had a gig. I had to come straight to the Savannah for bpRenegades performance. And of course, the medium finals was in Tobago, and I was unfortunately unable to get there. And of course, the Panorama Night finals for the large band category, it was so busy that I wasn't able to cover anything for EJ.Entertainment. But it still serves to be an important and informational series that allows the outsider, the onlooker, to get a little taste of what we go through as Spanish. The stories being told by Panis. So it's going to have a Panorama wrap-up as we're doing here at EJ in the Rama, and I'm hoping that next year, please God, I can do it on a much more professional scale. But it was just a nice sentiment for me to bring the information that we as Panis know to the onlooker, to the person that witnesses the entire Panorama event, EJ in the Rama.
Now, I saw some of your videos, some of your posts on social media interviewing panists, arrangers, and tuners. How did the idea for this particular series come about? Where did you get the idea from?
I was actually in a seminar. It was a social media marketing seminar, and it was called Brand U, hosted by the Tova Group. And I was just sitting down in the seminar. One of the presenters was speaking, and they said, I think the catchphrase they said was, make your own way. I was like, wow. And the idea immediately clicked in my head. Let me do something that is going to present the Steelpan the way it's supposed to be presented, or maybe how I see it could be presented. And that's where I got the idea. I sat down right there in the seminar on my phone, typing up a draft note, saying, all right, what's a good name? What is it going to be about? What is the vision statement? And I tried to get a draft of it right there and then in the seminar. And from there, I fleshed it out a little more. And then when it was time, I just went. I just did it. I beat by 1 week.
Now, we've spoken about youth in PAN.
Yes.
How do you feel yourself as a young person who has grown in PAN itself? How do you feel about the presence of PAN in schools on the curriculum? Now, some of us growing up, we would have learned the recorder, the piano, some other musical instruments, but not necessarily PAN, which is our musical instrument, our national musical instrument. How do you feel about PAN not specifically being part of the educational curriculum?
Okay, I think sometimes we underestimate the presence of PAN because I think a lot of schools have the Steelpan right now. Maybe it's not their most focused instrument, but I think a lot of schools have PAN. But however, saying that, I think there should be a point at a student's career, whether it be at the primary or secondary level, that the PAN is mandatory. Now, it doesn't have to be you playing the Steelpan, but you can learn about Steelpan history, learn about the process of Steelpan creation. I think at one point in at least one point in a student's career in at least the primary or secondary school level, it should be mandatory. But saying that, I think the Ministry of Education and Pan has done a lot from since maybe 10 years ago. That right now there's a strong presence of PAN in schools, both primary and secondary. So I think right now we're on track to get into a place where almost every school has the Steelpan as part of their curriculum. So it's not the best yet, but I think we're on a very good track right now.
And do you think this is one of the reasons why we would have seen so many young people taking part in Panorama Finals competition this year?
Definitely. I think coupled with the influence of the Ministry of Education and Pan, I think coupled with the absence of PAN for so long, well, for 2 years, a lot of these youths were hungry. I remember speaking to some of them from bpRenegades to say, Manny, I ain't touched a PAN since 2020, I excited to come out. I ready to be here, and you could have seen the joy on their faces. So Junior Panorama that took place in Savannah at the end of January, there was a huge crowd of both panists and supporters. So it was evident that these youths are very, very excited about the Steelpan, definitely.
Going back to the Panorama competition 2023, it's been 2 years, as you said. Panists didn't get to touch a pan. They didn't get the excitement of being there on stage playing for the audience. How was it for you, and what did you think of the competition, how it was run this year?
Okay, for me personally, there was a lot of times where I just took a moment, close my eyes and breathe it all in, just to take in the moment of being back on the Savannah stage. There's a custom that I do every time I step on the Panorama stage, I touch the ground and then I touch my heart. I did that too many times this year because it was so great to be back on stage. In terms of how the competitions were run, doing EJ in the Rama, I was able to be at strategic points to see the officials and everything. I think this year we improved immensely. I think from the single pan come all the way up to the large band finals, everything was very cohesive, smooth. There were hardly any times where there was any disruptions. I think the officials at these events worked very hard because before, as a player, I would have just been on with a band that I'm moving with. But while doing EJ and Rama, I was able to take a step back and see all the outer workings of the entire organization. So I got to see firsthand how hard they work, and I think they did a very good job this year. I think the organization, the shows that were put on were very cohesive and smooth, and it's just looking forward to next year to be even bigger and better.
And how do you feel about the NCC's announcement that the stipends for panists partaking in the Panorama Finals are back on track this year?
I think to some panists, it would be very meaningful, but I think that a lot of us, we do this out of love for the instrument, out of love for the culture. I think as a steel panist coming from any background, you have to put in the work, and the incentive for that work cannot only be monetary compensation. I think you have to love the instrument, you have to love the country, you have to love the culture, you have to love the sound of the Steelpan as well. So although the monetary compensation in this way is important, I think we as Spanish are so in love with the instrument that you could almost see that no amount of money could keep us away. But yes, it's very important that we are financially compensated. Definitely, yes, I agree.
Before we wrap, EJ, just give us a little idea of what we can expect coming up from EJ in the Rama, or just Emmanuel Joseph himself.
Okay, sure. So Emmanuel Joseph, myself, I am a Steelpan soloist. I perform at different hired events. I perform at different gigs. I am also a music TT spotlight artist. The music company of Trinidad and Tobago, they had a developmental program for artists. I am one of them. And I do content creation. I'm going to get into doing some more interviews. I want to get into the hand of broadcasting as well. But still, EJ.Entertainment, I'm a Steelpan performer, musicologist, hoping to become an established arranger in the Steelpan fraternity as well. But right now, I'm also a university student, so I'm going back into the university life. And it's just going to be taking everything step by step in my career as a entertainment industry member. Just going to take it step by step, piece by piece.
All the best to you, EJ, Emmanuel Joseph. Congratulations once again to yourself and to the bpRenegades on their Panorama 2023 win.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and all the best to you as well.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to take a quick break and come back